Hello dear chess friends, welcome to new video course that would be dedicated to legacy of some of the greatest players of all times. Here we will talk about Iron Tigran Petrosian, of course. This is first chapter of many chapters you will find here, and the first chapter would be about maneuvering. Later we will talk about activity and harmony in Petrosian games. We will learn about patient play and about constricting and about anticipation and prophylaxis. All these things that make Petrosian famous. But first chapter would be about maneuvering. What about maneuvering and how to maneuver and why to learn from Petrosian about maneuvering? Well, you will find that out in that video and in upcoming videos. So Petrosian was definitely one of the greatest players about maneuvering, and he must be your mentor about improving pieces, because looks like no one like him managed too often in his career to take care about his activity by maneuvering and to prevent opponent activity and opponent good maneuvers. So let's now start with first game. First game is Petrosian played and won against Gyula Sachs, eminent grandmaster from Hungary. That was played in 1979, so relatively old Petrosian. I do not want to strictly say old, but that game is played 5 years before Petrosian would pass away, unfortunately. So Petrosian lost chess crown 10 years before that game was played, and still he was top player in that moment. This game is proof for that. This game is will validate this statement. Petrosian, Gyula Sachs. Petrosian opened with knight f3, master of closed games. But after he got invitation to transfer to Pitts, he accepted challenge and played e4. And after bishop g7, d4, d6, knight c3, knight f6, bishop e2. Here there are many plans, many moves for both sides. White can play h3 and bishop e3, but after black played bishop g4, of course, white tries to allow black to take without being forced after pawn comes to h3. So now g4 square is taken. There is no unknowing knight g4 possibility, and white plays bishop e3. Bishop is safe here. Knight can come to g4, and here we need to stop. What would you suggest here to black? There are many options indeed. One option is played move knight c6 to play e5. Other option can be e6 to prepare d5. Next can be c6 to play like this, queen c7, knight bd7 and e5. Maybe even b5, but probably not. And what I want to say is that after c6, black can still go for e6 and d5. Is that strange to play c6, e6 and d5 to set all pawns on light? Generally, that may look strange to not experienced players, but what I want to say here is that it's just very promising for black. That system was implemented by former world champion Mikhail Botvinnik. So what is the idea? Idea is typical Caro-Kann idea. So black plays bishop g4, exchanges bishop for knight, and then sets all his pawns on light. That would be good because he stays with dark square bishop. In Caro-Kann you can find that bishop on e7 or d6. Here that bishop is on fianchetto position, and still that is okay for black. White can only dream about attack on the king's side. That is not realistic. Maybe it would be realistic with bishop on d3 to target diagonal b1 h7 and with queen on diagonal d1 h5. But after bishop f3, white will take with bishop. White bishop is on the wrong spot. So the only chance for white to go for attack is to play g3, h4, and h5. Black can counter with advancing h pawn or maybe even f pawn if white weakens the king. Don't forget the aggressor c5 to crush white's mini pawn chain d4 c5, which is typical with pawns on d5 and a6. So that is one plan. I really like this plan, and I played that many times with successes. So that's why I wanted to spend some time to inform you about this. Good implementation of that plan you can find in Botvinnik games. A lot of Botvinnik games were played in that manner. You can find that in second part of Botvinnik career, let's say after he lost definitely chess crown to Petrosian. So in late 60s and early 70s you can find Botvinnik play like this. So let's go on. Knight c6 was played. After that, black definitely will go for e5. Queen d2, e5 was played, and here white decided to take. Is there any other option? Well, option can be d5, but black has two options. Knight e7, h3, but now bishop d7 is suitable for black. Black is somewhat inferior, but he wants maybe to play c6. White cannot easily retreat with knight to play c4 because e4 is hanging. Black can retreat knight to play f5. So there will be complex strategical battle. And tactical as well, I must admit. Other approach is bishop f3, knight d4 to sacrifice pawn. That is interesting. Pawn sacrifice with compensation for black. What is the point? Well, the point is white extra pawn can be effectively used because there is no chance effectively to play f4 and e5. Black has dark square bishop which dominates on this diagonal, and there is nothing white can do on the king side for a long time. So that needs a lot of preparation. White bishop is inferior. There can be improvement of this bishop to put it on a4 e8 diagonal, or probably this way to control h3 c8 diagonal. White will try to play e5, maybe even with pawn sacrifice, and then to block with f5, but that is so different story. Black has enough of activity. Knight d7, maybe knight c5 for e5, queen g5 for instance. Black pieces would dance using dark squares, and black has compensation definitely. Remember that motive, something similar could take place in game in lot of games, in lot of various openings. So you can just get sure about this. I mostly keep King's Indian on mind, maybe some modern openings, right? So as you can see here, even in Pirts, that is possible to take place. So d takes c5 was played, queen d1, rook d1, pardon, queen c8, queen c1, and now tradings. So here I need to stop. All that is very solid and naturally played by both players, and here white needs to find the plan. Before I continue with this game, I want to mention two games. One is Anderson Hazai, played I think in Pula, I cannot remember the year. Something similar or exactly the same happened. And other can be a Karpov-Spassky game. I cannot remember the year. I think that was from some of their match, but I cannot remember right now. Maybe even not, who knows. But Karpov, Spassky, and Anderson, Ulf Anderson, of course, Ulf Anderson Hazai, you should find these games to see how white can gradually improve, same time constricting black. You will see two more brilliant victories for white side. White here played rook d8, queen d8, rook d1, and excellent move, queen f8. Here, once again, I want to stop. Situation on the board is almost symmetrical, but the only evident difference is that white has bishop placed on e2, while at the same time black has bishop on fianchetted position, so white bishop is not fianchetted. What can black do to improve this bishop, which is definitely bad at this moment? There are three options for black. Two of them are almost same. So one option is to give purpose to that bishop, to validate its position by installing knight and some moment to d4. Then bishop will, through e5 pawn, support this knight. In case of e pawn takes on d4, the bishop would be improved and the diagonal would be a bit opened. So bishop will be good there, supporting pawn that supports good knight in the center. Other two options for black would be to exchange bishop with bishop h6 or bishop f8, let's say knight d7, bishop c5, to exchange that bishop for e3 bishop, which is definitely better. That should be played for black if possible, whatever happens about bishop g4. So if bishop goes back, if bishop takes on f3, still black should go for exchanging his dark square bishop, which is formally inferior to white's colleague, to white dark square bishop. White here played h3 and black decided to take. It is difficult to suggest anything else because white will get knight g5 option after bishop e6, or if knight d7, there are annoying jumps of knight maybe to b5 or d5 at some moment. So bishop f3, and here of course you will guess typical and excellent move would be h5 to play king h7 and to play bishop h6. Remember that structure, and remember, even if there are pawns on d5 and d6 respectively, so if we have such material balance in king's Indian structure, black must sooner or later go for bishop h6. Idea for black to go for this is to eliminate one of bishops, and remember, white bishop f3 in any endgame, minor piece endgame, would be inferior to black knight because of fixed pawn on e4. I like to say with 7 against 7, knight is better than the bishop. Bishop still can find good diagonal. I'm talking about a to g8. But if black neutralizes it and neutralizes other pieces, this must be somewhat preferable for black. Remember, bishop pair is dangerous with one pair of knight added to the board. So also exchange of knights should be in black's favor. So if two bishops are better, let's say, than bishop and knight, if you add one knight to both sides, that advantage will be bigger. So that's why black should practically exchange any minor pieces here. What should white do? White should is first make his bishop f3 strong. So bishop should be made strong. Bishop must be made strong for situation black manages to exchange dark square bishop. So what I want to say is that if dark square bishops are eliminated from the board, white must make his bishop f3 good on some diagonal. How to make this bishop good? By setting pawns on dark squares. Even with dark square bishops on the board, it is good for white to set pawns on dark squares to restrict opponent bishop and opponent knight. So white wants to play c3, g3, b4, something like that. What I want to say is that practically everything depends on that light square bishop. If light square bishop is good, bishop pair would be good and white would be bad. If that bishop is bad, after exchanging dark square bishop, sooner or later black will play against bad bishop and black will have the advantage. So like in other sports, you should use the weapon, you should use the player on the pitch. Opponent team doesn't have, of course, some extraordinary player, right? If you have Messi, for instance, in your team, you will give ball to Messi, he will do some magic and he will score. That's why white must make his bishop f3 key piece, essential piece, and so important piece. That bishop then would outplay opponent knight and white will have the advantage. So to win the game or to win the battle in any sports or in real war, right, you need to use the weapon opponent doesn't have. So now we know that black should play h5 to exchange dark square bishops. White square bishop, even if good, would be less dangerous if dark square bishops are exchanged. So bishop pair is something that is so important factor here. Black played a6 to prevent knight b5 jump. White would like to make tempo with knight b5 to play c3 and later to retreat with knight this way. Here white played knight b1. Once again white wants to play c3 before black knight jumps to d4. h5 is another time that's again very good option. Black missed that again. Rook d8 was played, rook d8 of course, and c3. White wants to use bishop pair and light square bishop to prove this endgame is better for him, so that's why he doesn't need other pieces. So c3, queen d3, knight d2. Right now some other game came to my mind, that is Anderson key. Ulf Anderson is white and QI. That is how that player is spelled. And check also this game. I think this endgame without queens on the board happened here. Two bishops and knight, again two knight and bishop with same structure. Check this amazing game to see how white should handle this endgame. So knight d2, queen d3 is just fake activity. Once again h5 would be good option. Queen is not on f8, but white queen cannot forever stay on c1, right? And bishop h6 would be the reasonable exchange move. So knight d3, that is fake activity. What should white do is to eliminate queen from there as first. Bishop f8, queen b1, bishop d1 immediately was possible, okay, queen f1 was possible. But after a few more moves and queen dances, black played knight d8. This move really makes sense. Now we see that on board actually there is no peers. We see some reversed Hanam. What is Hanam? Hanam is Philidor defense variation where black has pawn on c6 and knight on d7. Where knight on c3 is traditionally bad after white takes d takes e, d takes e. Knight on c3 is traditionally bad. Now you can imagine that is reversed Philidor. So reversed Hanam variation, and knight on c6 is here bad. So black played knight d8. Idea can be knight e6 to jump to f4 or to c5 or to exchange the bishop. That makes sense. But after queen b3, white insists in exchanges. Queen d3, queen c4, targeting c7. Black must exchange queens or move queen back. Finally, queen e2. Black queen is expelled and white wants knight c4. Black didn't play knight e6 because that will cost him a pawn. Fantastic play by white. Now knight c4 takes the pawn, so knight e6, very good move, is here prevented. Black played queen e6, queen d3 targeting the knight, practically forcing black to stay with some passive piece. Instead of bishop e7, that would be better. Black would play something like this even. King e8, then probably knight d7 at some moment, bishop c5 to prepare something like that. Black played knight c6. Now that is just looks like wandering and like wasting time. Knight is bad on c6 and black moves knight back to bad spot. a3, no rush. White could do b3. No knight c4, there is maybe b5. Queen c4 is nothing, black removes the queen. So a3, defending the pawn. Queen e7, black wanders. It is better for black to exchange queens and to set defense. Now he wanders with queen and white immediately strikes. With bishop pair against knight and bishop, set pawns mostly on opponent bishop color. By setting pawns like this, you will restrict opponent bishop and you will not create holes for opponent knights. There can be maybe light square punkts like a4, c4, but white can easily cover them with his bishop. Knight d8, again, bad move. Queen d7 is better to reduce material, but black decided to stay with queens. Now knight c4, again preventing knight e6, again that pawn will fall. So knight d7, Surprisingly, knight c6 would be lesser evil, but okay. Knight d7, and now black is already lost. I'm pretty sure you will find the move. Well, that's simple. Bishop g4 attacking the knight, and already black is in huge trouble. If knight removes somewhere, well, there is even this, as you can see. For instance, if nothing else, right? Or there is just bishop c5. Yeah, even better version, you see? And now this. So that is disaster for black. So if there is nothing else better, after bishop g4, that would bring win to white. Black must play knight e6, but now knight a5, fantastic move, provoking weaknesses. Black doesn't have chance to save material. He must move b pawn. If b6, okay, knight c6, threatening to a6 pawn. That's why black played b5, but equally knight c6 happens. Queen e8, and now white on the move played simple and destroying c4. Now making d4 spot free for black knight to jump, but there is nothing. Black will just lose a pawn. This move c4 crashing, and after c4 there is no chance for black to keep material balance. B takes queen c4. Black cannot hold all weak pawns. I'm talking about a6 pawn, e6 pawn, e5 pawn. White threatens to double after taking on e6. Knight f6 was played. Now cb and queen b5. Knight g4 is not problematic for white. Black played knight e4 with some acrobatics. Black managed to hold material balance, but he is deadly lost. Queen c4. What can black do? F5 should not be seriously considered, right? There is, I think, the simplest move, bishop f3 with a win. If knight removes, bishop d5, or there is even knight d8. As you can see, black is lost anyway. Black played knight d6, queen d5, h5 was played, and bishop e6. That is the simplest move. White simplifies. Queen e6 is trivially winning. White can launch the pawn, or white can take the pawn. Black played f takes e, queen c5 defending the knight. Knight f5, now queen c2 targeting g6, bishop g7, b5 to cement position defending the knight, and now a passer is ready to get launched. After knight d4, don't take, don't create black d4 pawn passed, just queen c4, let black take, you will just take with queen with easy win. So queen d7, finally a4, knight f5, queen e2, not allowing anything, and black decided to resign. There is nothing black can do. There is forced a5, a6, a7 with easy win. So black was literally destroyed after allowing few imprecisions. Once again, in this position, I suggest you to check Anderson Hazay, Anderson Key, Karpov Spassky games to see how to play with this or that material balance in that structure. What about the exchange to f3? Well, everything depends on white bishop on f3, but it is not same if that bishop would be good with or without dark square bishops on the board. For white, it is good to activate that bishop with dark square bishops on the board. And as you can see, black should insist in trading dark square bishops. I'm talking about h5 and bishop h6 option. How to make bishop f3 good? Well, simply by setting pawns on dark, like c3, b4, g3, something like this. Then bishop will fit with pawn structure, and it will be good one. Black played indolently. Queen d3 is the move I should not suggest here. I would not suggest here. h5 is traditionally good with king h7, or maybe bishop f8, knight d7 to try bishop c5. White played knight b1 to get pawn to c3 to take pawn d4. Now bishop g4 should be improved via h6 or f8. There is no knight to d4 to hope white will take. Now next stage is about eliminating black queen from there. Knight e6 is preventing because there is knight c4 winning the material. Attacking the knight, now even b4. Once again knight c4, knight e6 is prevented. Knight d7, bishop g4 is winning move because after knight e6 there is knight a5. Black position is suddenly full of weaknesses. c7 pawn is separated from other pawns, cannot be connected with other pawns. a6 is weak, especially after white plays c4. Now there is even forced play. White takes on e6. Now black has additional weaknesses. White defends the knight, neutralizes black active play, lets black take first. A pawn goes to queen, and after queen e2, black decided to resign. So that is just fantastic performance of maneuvering and of patience. You could see how white just played all natural moves. This game could be presented even without one single sideline, because everything goes natural and smooth, and not strange, black easily lost the game. He started to get confused after rooks were exchanged and didn't feel danger that comes on light squares. You could see how white dominated using c4, b5, c6, later g4 squares. All that because black didn't have light square bishop in his army. His dark square bishop couldn't help, and that is the reason black got terrible defeat. So that would be all about this remarkable game. I think you will agree with me. One more suggestion is to analyze games I mentioned earlier, and to get sure how to play properly this setup, this structure, and with this material balance on the board as white, of course, and how not to play as black. That would be all for our first video. In that video course, let's go to our video number 2.